People reveal more when nothing is said. You ask a simple question in a meeting, then you stop and wait without reacting. The observable behavior is silence immediately after a direct prompt. The effect is that the other person feels exposed because unanswered questions create pressure to fill the gap with explanation. In practice, this means they start talking past the question, offering context, justification, and details you never requested. You recognize it when someone answers, then keeps going, then corrects themselves mid-sentence. Silence loosens tongues fast. You state a concern to a colleague, then you stay still and give no reassurance. The observable behavior is withholding verbal feedback after a concern is raised. The effect is that the other person assumes judgment is forming, which triggers defensive disclosure to regain control. This shows up when they volunteer excuses, timelines, or mitigating factors before you ask for any of it. You recognize it when they start explaining why something happened instead of addressing whether it did. Pressure produces surplus information. You confront someone calmly and they answer briefly, then you do not respond at all. The observable behavior is silence after a partial answer. The effect is that partial answers feel incomplete under silence, and incompleteness pushes people to add more to close the loop. In practice, this means the second wave of speech is usually more honest and less rehearsed than the first. You recognize it when the follow-up includes admissions, uncertainty, or softened claims. The truth leaks in layers. You receive a vague response to a clear request, and instead of clarifying, you pause and let it hang. The observable behavior is refusal to rescue ambiguity with questions. The effect is that ambiguity becomes uncomfortable for the speaker, not the listener, and they rush to resolve it themselves. This shows up when they restate their answer with more precision, dates, names, or limits. You recognize it when clarity arrives without you asking for it. Silence demands specificity. You hear a claim that sounds exaggerated, and you respond with no challenge, only quiet attention. The observable behavior is silent scrutiny without contradiction. The effect is that exaggerated claims collapse under their own weight when left unsupported. In practice, this means the speaker backtracks, qualifies, or narrows the statement to avoid being pinned down. You recognize it when confidence fades and language shifts from absolute to conditional. Overstatement cannot survive quiet. You suspect someone is hiding something, and you allow pauses to stretch after each answer. The observable behavior is extended silence between exchanges. The effect is that it disrupts rehearsed narratives, because scripts rely on rhythm and momentum to stay intact. This shows up when stories lose structure, timelines blur, or details contradict earlier points. You recognize it when the speaker restarts sentences or changes sequence. Silence breaks scripts cleanly. You ask a yes or no question, and after the answer, you remain silent and still. The observable behavior is silence following a closed response. The effect is that people feel compelled to justify even simple answers, revealing motivation and internal conflict. In practice, this means the real answer appears after the yes or no, not inside it. You recognize it when the explanation matters more than the word that came first. Justification exposes intent. You listen without nodding, smiling, or interrupting, and you say nothing to encourage continuation. The observable behavior is neutral listening without reinforcement. The effect is that speakers lose external regulation and begin self-regulating out loud. This shows up when they question their own statements, revise positions, or disclose doubts spontaneously. You recognize it when certainty erodes without you applying pressure. Silence removes the mask. You receive an answer that avoids responsibility, and you let the pause linger longer than normal. The observable behavior is tolerance of discomfort without repair. The effect is that avoidance becomes visible to the speaker, triggering corrective disclosure to restore self-image. In practice, this means accountability appears not because you demanded it, but because silence made avoidance obvious. You recognize it when responsibility is suddenly claimed without prompting. Discomfort drives confession. You end an exchange without acknowledgement, without closure, without relief. The observable behavior is leaving silence as the final state. The effect is that unresolved pressure continues working after the interaction ends. This shows up when messages arrive later containing clarifications, admissions, or extra information you never requested. You recognize it when disclosure happens after the conversation is supposedly over. Silence keeps extracting truth.